Welcome to another episode of Matty Loves Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Matty Loves Podcast. I'm your host, Matt D. Simone. Join with me this week is the editor-in-chief of EclipsePopCulture.com, a buddy of mine that I actually graduated the university with, and that is Mr. Cooper Davis Smith. I always refer to you as Cooper Davis Smith. I don't know if that's like your professional name, but it just sounds good.
It does sound good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of sounds like a law firm. Like, I don't sound like a person. I sound like three different guys.
Yeah,
So.
no, totally. I mean, you're definitely someone who has the first name, last name, all the way through his name. It's like, you know, you could be Davis Cooper, or Smith Cooper, or Cooper Smith. Anyway, so, very good to have you here. I've been wanting to have you here in the Matt Cave for a while now, just because, all right, just to color our friendship here. The first time I met Coop, I don't know if you remember this, we were standing in line at school, like, you know, to get like a coffee or something like that. And I saw that you had a stack of the Convergence DC titles. And you had the Flash one, I think, at the top of them. And so, you know, and I asked you, and you're like, yeah, man, I love the Flash, you know. And I was like, well, brother's got red hair, you know. I mean, that's one thing that, like, you know, I was like, yeah, man. I mean, you definitely look like Wally West. So,
Oh yeah, in comic books, I have my favorite gingers.
Okay.
Like, that's a thing that I do.
So, who are your favorite gingers in comic? Is Banshee one of them?
No. All right.
Okay.
So it basically, and especially right now, my top two with Titans Rebirth are Wally West and Roy Harper.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's Jean Grey.
Yes.
And those are kind of just like my top three that are going right now.
What about Adam Eve?
Adam Eve has a special place in my heart, but she's not one of my favorite gingers. She's just one of my favorite people in general.
Right. Okay.
Like, basically anyone Invincible in that book has a special place in my heart.
Right. Okay. We're like totally like perfectly segueing into an Invincible conversation right now. But but just to shed a little light on, like, you know, what you do. Kind of. I mean, you are the newly appointed editor-in-chief of Eclipse Pop Culture, correct?
Yes.
Now, is Eclipse Pop Culture? Do you own the site?
I do not.
Okay.
Actually, the CEO. Great guy, is Anthony Darrington.
Okay.
He kind of has a bit of experience with startups. He started up a couple of YouTube channels, one of which is doing pretty well right now. And he kind of just handles a lot of the people stuff, the stuff that I don't do so well with. But we had worked together before, and when he wanted to start getting more into the editorial side, he contacted me, and it sounded like a really good opportunity for me, so I, of course, took it on. And since then, I helped him plan out the site, come up with a submission process for writers. He and I meet up at least twice a month, I want to say, and just kind of talk about what's going on with the site. He's up in Apopka, so with me being closer to South Orlando, we usually meet right here in Winter Park.
Cool. Well, that, man, I mean, the website looks great. Folks, you know, I'm going to have a link. You know, but feel free, you know, right now, if you have a laptop in front of you, hit up EclipsePopCulture.com. It's, you know, it's one of those websites that you know, it's a necessary sidebar to your major websites that kind of cover sort of the same thing, you know, in pop culture, but it's just different viewpoints. And I'm going to talk about that a little later on too, when I was just going through the site a couple days ago when I saw your Facebook post saying I'm an editor-in-chief, and I was like, what? You know, and I went on there and looked, and I was like, ooh. So anyway, but yeah, go on there, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, and also too, a lot of the articles, it's kind of like, we're asking questions that everybody else is asking, but those websites, you know, the popular websites, they don't ask those questions, you know, that's what the comment field's for, you know,
yeah.
Whereas there, it's like, no, let's think about this for a second, you know, like, what's up with Suicide Squad, or, you know, like we're going to talk about later, you know, what's up with the black suit on Superman, you know, what's the deal with that?
Yeah.
So it's very cool. I'm very happy that you're busy as hell as usual. Ever since I met you, you've just been super busy, and
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
And it is a very good thing that you have found, because I think you are definitely an editor for sure. In my experience, and your feedback on some of my stuff, and just seeing you give feedback to our peers. It's you definitely, you don't pull any punches, but you're not supposed to. I
try not to make it sound
anything.
Yeah, I try not to ever sound like I'm personally attacking any of my writers, because I have just about a dozen writers now who are constantly sending me articles and everything, but if there's something that's not working with the article, I'll let them know. If it's something tiny like a comma splice, I'm more than happy to fix it. But if there are issues with pictures, sources, or anything, I have all of their numbers. They know I will text them immediately after reading an article to try and get it up as soon as possible.
Right on. That's cool, man. And this is pretty much, you're kind of rolling on the fly here, right? Like, this is...
Basically, this is kind of, while I was in school, I did an internship with the Orlando Weekly, and I was working really close with the editors and editor-in-chief, so I kind of got to see that side of it for the first time then. And it's a whole nother beast, my friend. It's, when I'm not putting in 35 to 40 hours a week at a certain popular theme park here in Orlando, I am either on that site working with another local YouTube channel or working with another freelance client. Like, I am constantly on a screen typing something, editing something, posting something, making something work.
Not to mention the reading. You gotta read a lot as an editor. There's no skimming for you. You can't do that. The writer can do that all day long. Yeah, that's good enough. Send it your way. Well, that's awesome. I'm expecting more interesting things to come out of the website. So let's get into basically our main topics of discussion on this episode. We almost went right into it. First off, we're going to talk about our favorite comic ever.
Yes.
That we agree on this.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Our favorite comic in the history of comic books is Robert Kirkman's Invincible.
Oh.
And just a couple days ago, we found out that Invincible is dead at issue 144, which is going to be released a year from now. Maybe. Who knows? The schedule's been solid here for the past few months, but there for a while... We didn't get much Invincible, I think, in 2000.
We got like 4 issues in 1 year.
2014 was probably the worst year for just nothing coming out. And then we got Reboot. And that, I think, is where I kind of started to worry.
Yeah.
Did we run out of ideas?
That was the first time reading Invincible from issue number 1 to, what was that, issue 125, 126, something like that?
I think that 133 is coming out, I think, next week. So yeah, it was somewhere in the 120s.
That was the first issue I read where I was kind of like, now how did this move the story forward? How did this really set anything up? It felt more like a response to everything that DC and Marvel is doing, and kind of just poking the bear.
For sure.
Which
I think that had something to do with it. I also think that it was just a case of maybe they started plotting it out, and they were thinking that they were going to be actually going somewhere to change everything up. But I think at the end of the day, Robert Kirkman just wanted some time to pass so Tara could get older.
Yeah. I think
not be Mark having to just go off to Earth again to do something crazy.
I think Kirkman wanted Tara, he wanted that disconnect where all of a sudden Mark hasn't been around Tara for 5 years, but he didn't want to turn Mark into a bad dad who just ran off to go do something.
Right.
Especially after he put all that work into getting Mark to just abandon Earth to get him to leave to go actually live his life.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was looking for a way to get into there, but not turn Mark into that guy who just, oh man, you just left your kid and single mother now.
And an issue I had with that was, you go all the way back to issue like 1 or 2 of Invincible when his dad is gone for days.
Yeah.
And, his mom is like, yeah, sometimes I just didn't know if he was coming home or not, and I'm like, well, that's the difference between Nolan and Mark's mom. Damn, I can't remember her name. And Mark and Eve. That's I think where the main like difference is, because Eve, she shacked up with someone else while Mark was gone.
Yeah.
And I knew that was coming too, and I don't know if I was a
absolutely.
big fan of that or not. I don't know if that was. I don't know if I'm 100% with that, because that just, it's like straying away, it's giving up more or less.
They didn't touch on it much, but I was fine with that part because it didn't seem like they put much into it in the comic itself, but it didn't seem like she hooked up with that guy until recently, like after 5 years had passed or something.
Yeah.
In which case, Mark and his brother Oliver go off to examine some type of warfield, but then Oliver comes back without Mark. You would kind of think that Mark is dead. Like, if Oliver, his own brother, is leaving without him to the point where they can't find him, yeah, I think it's...
all is lost?
Yeah, absolutely. In which case, she deserved to try and be with someone else, but then it turns out that guy was a dick.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
of
can
course.
I say that on your podcast?
Yes, you totally
Okay,
can.
awesome.
Yeah, yes, it's pretty much anything goes here, except I mean the F-bomb is,
Yeah.
it's a bit too colorful. That's
Understandable.
That's more in a passing conversation or anger, and we don't ever really get that angry on this podcast here. Plus, my mom doesn't like it when I say F, and she listens to the podcast, so I can't.
Okay, no F-bomb. Got you.
Gotta listen to Mom, even though, there were definitely plenty of F-bombs while I was reading Reboot. But I mean, everything before Reboot was just, it was so good.
It was so good.
Every single time things started to slow down, right when I would think, oh man, things are starting to slow down, I'd flip the page and whack, right back into just craziness.
I know, and I'm so interested to see what's happening now with Robot, who's like had Earth for 5 years.
Like
I think that's
dictator of
another
Earth.
thing. Yeah, that's another thing Kirkman really wanted to do. He really wanted to just, especially I'm thinking he went into the Reboot knowing he was going to wrap up soon, and he wanted to do that 5-year jump to just kind of show everyone where everything's heading and giving it a better conclusion than he could. So all in all, I approve of that Reboot thing just for the fact that it was a time jump.
There is no doubt in my mind that the end of all things, the last year-long arc that we're getting ready to have happen, is going to be just incredible.
Oh yeah,
I have no doubt about that at all. But in Kirkman's, kind of his farewell address about Invincible that he released a couple days ago, he had put in there, we probably should have kept Conquest, around, instead of killing him off. And my whole thing is that, well, why he's not did he get obliterated? I don't remember him I remember him getting ripped apart, but I don't remember him just absolutely getting atomized. And I just think of the Viltrumites like Wolverine, man. They'd come back.
They're the Wolverine plus Super Saiyan plus Superman. Yeah. Because literally whatever doesn't kill them makes them impervious to that, it seems
and
like.
they just keep getting stronger too, like the Saiyans. It doesn't stop. It's like you beat them down, they heal, and when they come back, they're even just more just nasty.
They literally, 3 of them literally flew through a planet to blow it up. It seems like there's no limit to what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way the Viltrumites take care of I remember in the beginning when I think it was the Conquest Invincible fight, when Conquest just open hand poke straight through Mark's abdomen, goes bang, just right through, just like that, like a knife. I mean, just the brutality of Invincible coupled with the, drama. It's just the best mix of both ever, It's like you just have a lovely story, but in the middle of that story, there's a fight, and there's just blood and intestines and everything just everywhere. I just love the book so much, and the fact that, it's coming to an end as a regular series sucks, but I definitely think, and I was telling you that, it's not done. Like, I'm sure in 2019, 2020, by that time, we will have had a 4-issue miniseries, about something.
Yeah. And the great thing about Invincible right now is that they've already made the jump to where the world is radically different, so they don't so much need to keep it concurrent with our timeline right now.
Yeah.
So I would love to see them do a huge jump and make Tara the protagonist of a book.
Sure. Well,
yeah.
Well, the thing the one thing that Kirkman said that I was kind of like, oh man, why not? Is he was like, I was thinking about maybe just handing the book off to another set of creators or whatever, but eventually it will run out of steam, and that's a possibility. Maybe more likely than anything, but still. Any great comic book starts out with the original creator and gets passed off to an artist or a writer and an artist that, take it different places. And maybe it doesn't work right away, but eventually down the road, a voice is going to catch that character and it's going to be like, this is like Kirkman shit back in 2006, Yeah. That's the opportunity I think they're really missing in just going ahead and continuing Invincible and say, okay, we're an independent publisher, so, it's issue 144 is the last one. We'll give you to 175.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And, I was just talking to someone else about this recently, and their comment was just that I hope Invincible gets, a live-action movie or something, and I just thought in my head, no. It would never work. It would be...
We would hate it. Well,
yeah.
I would hate it. I would hate it so much, and it would just...
They could never do the stuff they do in the comics.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And it would tarnish the character, And I go see these comic book films, mainly the DC ones, and I just feel like I'm getting smacked across my face.
Oh,
man,
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, bro. I mean, oh, man. Come on. I mean, jeez. We talked about it before we went, and I guess this is the first time I've recorded since the film came out, but oh geez Louise, man. I mean, it's called Suicide Squad, so somebody's gonna die, right? The only person that I remember dying clear as day was Slipknot, and he just walked on the screen and then died.
Yeah, that I have a lot of feelings about Suicide Squad, mostly because I did watch it twice and I regret that decision. One of my tickets was free, and
right. Well, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. So I watched it twice, and the first time I watched it, I'm like, this isn't great, but it's not the worst. But then I watched it the second time. I'm like, I'm effing done with this. Yeah. I had to walk out halfway through the movie to go get a drink and then come back because it was just painful to watch.
I can't remember who it was that told me, oh no, I was talking with a mutual friend of ours. Wait, no, it wasn't Connor that I was talking to about this, I don't think. But someone told me, they were like, my favorite scene in the whole movie was the scene between Batman and Deadshot and the daughter. That happens right away.
Yeah.
And I was like, how? That made no sense at all. I almost said F there. That made no sense because Batman does not give a shit about your daughter if you are a criminal doing criminal shit, walking around with your daughter.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're packing and all that shit. Okay? Sorry. Batman's going to grab you by your throat, slam you against the wall, and make your daughter see what you've done.
Yeah.
He's not gonna pull well, my parents were killed, so I don't want to beat up someone's parents. No. That's not how Batman does his shit.
Batman is ruthless.
Yeah.
Especially, like, Batman would know that he's going up against Deadshot. He knows how deadly he is. He knows that he's going to have a weapon on him because of his nature. Batman should have swooped in right there and just, like, tackled him to the ground.
Yeah.
And that should have been the end of that scene. We shouldn't have even seen Batfleck.
No.
We should have seen Silhouette swoop in,
Punch
take him to the
face.
ground.
Bam!
Waller goes on to next person.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Right. And Waller. Okay?
Oh.
Look.
Is this happening? Are we talking about this?
Waller in the movie, at points, were probably the best part of the movie. Okay, the part where she shoots everybody in that one scene where, you know, Deadshot says that's gangsta. That was gangster as shit.
It was.
Know? She killed everybody because, you know, they all messed up and couldn't see what had happened or whatever. The thing that I don't understand is, when did Enchantress kidnap Amanda Waller?
It was when the helicopter went down. She sent those goons things after her, and then they brought her to Enchantress.
And they showed her bring her to Enchantress.
That did happen.
I must have, like, it had been checked out at that point in time, because
I don't blame you.
When we saw Waller in that building, I was like, wait a minute. You know, what? Just a second ago, she was giving them orders, and now they're rescuing her inside of, like, 40 minutes.
It happened, like, crazy fast, that all of a sudden she went in her helicopter went down, Enchantress got her. Yeah. Like, it was... And then, just, I don't know, like, her whole illogical conclusion about everything, like, we need metahumans to combat the next Superman.
Those metahumans are gonna fight Superman? Are you kidding me?
Seriously.
None of them would last, like, a second.
Also, Killer Croc was completely useless throughout the entire movie.
He was like 5'10".
He just he showed up last minute basically to just be like, I'm gonna awkwardly shimmy into this water and swim.
I'm the one in the group that can pick up things and throw them with pristine accuracy. It's like, why the shit didn't Boomerang throw the device into the thing to, you know?
That was another thing. He throws, at one point, Captain Boomerang, who I love in the comics, but in the movie, he's just a mess. Yeah.
He just walks away at one point, and then all of a sudden they do the slow-mo group walk because they've come back together, and he, like, you know, slowly walks in, gives, like, the high five or whatever. And I mean, that part when they did the slow walk,
oh god, that was
when I was like, how did David Ayer, who is a hell of a director, agree to that? David Ayer, he did not, you know, he will never do another, like, anything like this again. And I swear this movie is probably, I mean, you know, is messed him up in the brain as a director, you know, as a visually, you know, because, you know, oh god, man.
Well, it seems like these movies, like DC
so
and Marvel,
cliche,
exactly,
man.
they get these, like, amazing directors, these amazing actors, and then they put them in these roles where they kind of have to, like, balance trying to just turn out a comic book fan film and actual blockbusters, and it just, Marvel is doing better with it, but I think the only reason is because they took their time. Even Marvel movies are starting to get to me, man. Like,
I you know what I thought? I thought Civil War was good. You know, I tried to go into it. I mean, this is especially after watching Batman, Superman, and being like, okay, like, there's no way Civil War is gonna be as bad, if not worse. And it wasn't. You know, yeah, sure, there's plenty of things about Civil War that I thought were just, you know, kind of stupid. But, you know, way better. But here's the thing, though. Marvel, they've got it figured out, you know, as far as the team shit goes, too. Because all they do is they give us 6 good guys. And they make sure that we know exactly what each of them want, even if some of them are only on the screen for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, we know what everybody wants to do. It's not just assume it, you know? Like, we know, and with the DC movies, not only do they want us to assume some things, sometimes in their explanations of, like, you know, characters' motives, they kind of, like, almost, like, contradict the assumptions. Like Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman, they tried to say in the Ultimate Edition, oh, well, you get a better idea of what his motives are. if you're making an Ultimate Edition of anything, period, it's because the first one was shit.
Yeah.
Either that or the first one sold a doo-doo load, of money, their tickets and everything, and they can pump out, Star Wars Special Edition, Blu-ray extra, 5K, whatever, forever. Whereas if you're doing an Ultimate Edition and you're throwing on 30 extra minutes and saying, this is going to help better tell the story so that you can now figure it out when you watch it. I watched it, and I'm still like, what? You got a couple new characters we didn't see in the actual film, who got a paycheck.
Yeah.
Who did jack shit, didn't do anything.
Yeah. For me, at this point, comics, DC and Marvel comics in particular, they have this thing where in order to really know what's going on in one storyline, you need to be reading, 3 other supplement books. And it seems like with the movies, they want to start doing the same thing, but that's not how movies should work.
Yeah.
I'm committing 2 to 3 hours to see this movie. I want to know everything that's going to happen in this movie. I don't want to have to read supplement material.
Right.
I don't want to have to go see another movie. I don't want to have to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go to their website and do this craziness. I want to be able to sit down, see the movie for what it is, and know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think Marvel does a really good job, even though, they have this immense universe with a bunch of movies. They're all self-contained.
Yeah.
It's not like, unless they say part 1, part 2, which they've never done, except for Iron Man, and we all saw what happened with that, because the Captain America films, arguably, the first one was a Cap film, the second one just had a different vibe altogether.
Yeah.
And then the third film was like Avengers 3, more or less, or
It basically was, yeah. I honestly think they could have dropped the Captain America billing and just said Civil War for the entire thing.
Well, that's what everybody's going to call it forever anyway.
Yeah, no one's ever going to say Captain America 3. It will always be Civil War, especially with the comic books that it was based off of. But another thing is that Marvel, they've just had time. While DC was off making Catwoman and Superman Returns, they started with Iron Man, which was a strong film and is still really regarded as one of the best Marvel films.
Absolutely.
And they built on top of that. DC they did their early 2000 movies. Then in 2011, they tried out Green Lantern, and now they've completely thrown that to the side, and they're like, okay, here's our cinematic universe, but we have to get caught up to where Marvel is, and they've just thrown so much at it.
So fast. They tried to...
So fast.
Yeah, it's like we're doing 2.5-hour films, and it's all building.
And it's all 5 plot lines in one movie.
And we don't know what it's building towards. That's the problem. In all these, since Iron Man, since Thor, we know something's building at the end of Iron Man. Thor's hammer, or was it Iron Man 2? Thor's hammer was in the middle of New Mexico. I can't remember which one.
At the end of Iron Man 2, because I think that's...
We found it.
Is that when Coulson came in? Yeah.
So Iron Man... Coulson was there in the first film.
Yeah, but he didn't really do anything.
Not until the end when he said where he was from.
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, he's S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And
that was the, so it was Iron Man 2 at the end of that where we saw Thor's hammer.
Yes.
And we even saw Captain America's shield. Well, that
was in the first film. We saw Captain America's shield. Oh, wait, no, that was in the second one. It was on the desk in his...
Yeah, it was thing. This garbage.
It was like being pieced together almost.
Yeah, it was missing parts.
Right,
and Coulson takes it out and he's like, do you know what this is? And Tony's just like, that's exactly what I need. And he uses it basically to just wedge up this pipe.
Right.
And it's so perfectly showed Tony Stark's character. It so perfectly showed that Captain America is coming. And it was just these little things. Whereas DC's just let's punch you in the face with character references.
And not only that, but then let's do the easiest shit you could possibly do in cheating. And when we show you all these characters to come in this movie, it's going to all be on a data file, and you're going to get 5 15-second video clips back to back to back, where Lex Luthor has named and codenamed all these guys himself, and, let's shit the bed. That's all. I mean, it's not working.
Yeah, and then that Justice League trailer I didn't like...
What is this, like a yuck film? I'm going to get a team together.
Exactly. The one part of it that I'm looking forward to is Jason Momoa's Aquaman. And not because it looked like they tried to make a badass Aquaman, because I love Aquaman. I love Aquaman with a passion. I love reading his books every week. The only reason that I'm interested in Jason Momoa's Aquaman is because it looks like they're adapting his Polynesian culture to the role. I think that's interesting.
That's fine, but I don't want this to be Atlantis is an underwater Polynesian cultural society. I want Atlantis to be a place that Arthur Curry is banned from.
Yeah.
Because he's half human.
I
don't think they're going to do that. I think he's going to be Namor.
So?
No, or, well, not even Namor. I think he's going to be full on like Atlantean. They're not even going to do the, my dad, fell in love with the, the Atlantean queen and they had me, and all that. Like, I don't think they're going to do that.
That's a shame.
Because that's just too much.
That's true. But that's actually what I was really hoping they were doing. Or at least... Because, when we see Aquaman in the trailer, he is in rough shape. Like, he's drinking an entire bottle of vodka and throwing it into the ocean.
He's going to have his own movie, too, so maybe they'll do that there, but still.
All I want is a little bit where, basically, Batman comes in, says, hey, Arthur Curry, I know who you are, I know about Atlantis, I know that you're king. I just want him to say, I'm not king of anything. And then, that be the end of it. Go on with the rest of the movie, but have everyone know where Aquaman stands with Atlantis right now.
You do the very end of the movie where you see where everybody's going.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that and it's I don't think anybody's going to argue. Flash is going to steal the show in Justice League. He's going to be so good.
I'm so not happy with Ezra Miller as the Flash.
Dude, I'm sold, man. I'm sold. He doesn't look like comic book Barry Allen, but then again, Zenata, who just got whatever her name is.
Zendaya.
What's her name?
I think it's just Zendaya.
It's just Zendaya?
I think so.
It's just like one word?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she is Mary Jane. Not Caucasian. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I think that's just where we are now, like with the whole Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, They changed Hermione's ethnicity, and people had problems with that because they were like, it doesn't say that in the book. It's clear as day. They described the characters, and I'm like...
It never said she was white in the books either. It just said she had big brown eyes and curly...
mess of a hair or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
That was all they said about Hermione.
Yeah.
As far as Mary Jane goes, the only thing that I thought was weird about it is that at first they said her name was Michelle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is another character in Spider-Man.
Could be.
They were kind of pointing at it being this other character.
Right.
And then they came out with Mary Jane, which I'm totally fine with because I wasn't a huge fan of the original Spider-Man films. I'm one of the few people...
I don't think we would have the Marvel Studios now if it wasn't for the first three Spider-Mans, even though Spider-Man 3 was awful, but the first two are just amazing, man.
The first one was great.
They're movies,
I like
though.
nerdy Peter Parker. I like my Peter Parker as that science geek, and I feel like they touched on it a lot in the first movie, then about 50% in the second movie, but by the third movie, he's just like this emo scene kid who takes pictures. I want my Peter Parker nerdy, and Andrew Garfield was that 100%, which I liked.
I totally 100% disagree. I don't. I think that Andrew Garfield was let's get somebody that can be on the cover of a magazine and have him be Peter Parker. And that's not what Tobey Maguire was at all. And they made him, appealing. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Andrew Garfield, he's just like, hey... I'm Andrew Garfield. I skateboard. Peter Parker does not skateboard,
No,
bro.
he does not skateboard.
All right,
He's
sorry.
a klutz.
Yeah.
Before he gets bit by a spider, he is a complete and total klutz. And
a nerd. He didn't.
Yeah.
Did Andrew Garfield even wear glasses in any of those films? I can't even remember.
He wore contacts.
Oh.
There was this one thing where he takes out his contacts and puts on his dad's old glasses, and it's one, that's not how prescription lenses work.
Right.
It's not one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Me, both my sisters, and my mother all have completely different prescriptions. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. They made him more attractive they made him cooler, and that's not
Peter
cool.
Parker, man.
Yeah.
Peter Parker is the guy who's not cool, and he's still not cool, but he is cool.
Exactly.
You know?
He's not cool as Peter Parker, but he's fine with it because he's Spider-Man. And he just, when he's actually Spider-Man, he gets to be himself. He gets to be quick-witted. He gets to be sarcastic.
And we love that as, like, fans, but when he's working with the other heroes, he gets on their nerves.
Yeah.
You know? Like, he drives them crazy. You know, I love that. You know?
One of my favorite Spider-Man moments is right after Superior Spider-Man, when Peter Parker, every time he sees a hero, he's like, hey, it's me again, Spider-Man. Because he doesn't say his actual name. He's like, before I was Dr. Octopus, and everyone's just like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know what, never mind, it's cool. Mm-hmm. And just like, every hero he runs into, at one point, just before like, what was it? Original Sin started up. He just like flies in, and he's just like, hey Thor, I don't know if you know this, but it's me again, Spider-Man. And Thor's like, what's happening? And then a bomb goes off. Like, it was so just like a great little bit of it.
Oh man, Superior Spider-Man's so good.
At one point, he's swinging around without pants on because he has this issue with this new webbing that won't dissolve, and it's great. It's so
Spider-Man.
It's so Spider-Man. And Superior Spider-Man was great, and I loved all of it.
Yeah, folks, if you've never read Superior Spider-Man, basically what happened was at the very end of Spider-Man Volume 1, Peter Parker dies, more or less. And his consciousness gets transferred, Doc Ock switches bodies.
Yeah.
With Peter Parker first. So Peter Parker is this, like, quadriplegic Doc Ock had been riddled to, like he's
nothing. He's on life support. He can't get out of bed, anything like that.
And he finds a way he works on it for 100 issues to figure out a way to transfer his consciousness into Peter Parker's body, and he does it.
And what's so great is I love how he does it, because it's not like this, I'll plug us into a computer and swap our brains, or I'll just smash things together. How he does it is so great, because he literally just, memories make us who we are. I'm going to put all of my memories in Spider-Man's body, and I'm going to put all of his memories in my body. And that's how they do it. And it's just so cool. It's different from what any other body switching I've seen before in films and TV. It's such a cool way to do it. And it's a perfect lead-in to how Spider-Man comes back. Like, it's set up from issue 1. It doesn't feel crammed in there. It's just so cool.
Yeah. And once we realize, and I don't think it is until, like, Superior Spider-Man 3 or 4, where we realize Peter Parker's consciousness is not dead, and it's still...
like it didn't... His memories are still in there. He's still fighting. And at one point, he realizes Doc Ock's going to be making a mess. I have to help him. And honestly, I could have read that for a whole nother year.
Yeah, I thought it ended way too soon.
Of Doc Ock actually trying to be Spider-Man. Because that's what we see at the end when Peter Parker dies in Dr. Octopus's body. We see him, like, get shot in with Peter Parker's memories and kind of like... I need to be a hero. Like, the world needs Spider-Man to be a hero. And he resolves to do it better than Peter Parker did, which is fine. But I could have just read Doc Ock trying to be a hero, Peter Parker realizing he has no hope of getting his body back, deciding to help for the greater good.
Struggle of the mind. And I would turn it into even, like, sort of... I wanted it to go, like, Spider-Man versus the Marvel Universe. You know,
that's where it looked like it was going.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted Doc Ock to just start going insane and, like, you know, build like a big, you know, war base in New York and, you know, take it over.
I mean, he basically almost had it there.
Well,
with the island.
Island, yeah.
He turned it into Spider Island version 2.0 essentially, and yeah. He had his own military forces that could be deployed and all this stuff. And
so crazy how that shit is all just disappeared now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Secret Wars 2, 3, 4. Oh, boy. So anyway.
Zendaya is Mary Jane.
Zendaya is Mary Jane.
And you know what? At this point, I'm just excited to see Peter Parker in high school. Like, that's what... I would prefer Gwen Stacy still.
I think if you're rebooting Spider-Man, you should have Gwen and Mary Jane and Harry.
Yes,
and have
absolutely.
Mary Jane and Harry together.
Exactly. Have Flash Thompson there. Just make it Peter Parker's high school years, where Gwen Stacy was who he's in love with. Like, that was it. That was it for him. And he only ever moved on until in the comics, spoiler alert if you weren't reading back then, but Gwen Stacy died.
What if, of course this is not going to happen, what if they would have said, no, we're not going to do Spider-Man Homecoming movie, we're going to do a Netflix original series.
Yes.
And you have, in high school, starting them out, freshman year, Peter, Gwen, Mary Jane, Harry, Flash, and Felicia Hardy as the bad guy girl in school. Dude.
I would watch it. Like,
bro.
Just binge.
I mean, just with those 6 characters alone, okay? And then from there, basically what I would do is I would take this out of like downtown, like center New York City, Manhattan, whatever. I would take it to like Long Island and have it take place in like the suburbs over in Long Island.
Yeah.
And eventually move them into the city,
Yeah.
eventually. But you don't have to do necessarily Freak of the Week unless you're doing 12 episode, deals to where you establish your big bad guy in the very beginning. Your big bad guy. You're like over everything bad guy that ain't going away, and then you establish your bad guy for the season.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would not waste any time. I would do Norman Osborn, obviously, as the overruling bad guy, but dude, I'd do Kraven the fucking Hunter, man, like right away.
Just really those classic kind of cheesy Spider-Man villains that you had in those old comics, and like really just the original Spider-Man animated show. Just do that like live action on Netflix. That was so
have this like
perfect,
Russian
and its
foreign
weird
exchange
cheesiness.
Russian foreign exchange student coming into school, man. And like, he's like, he's come to New York because, to prove to his father over in Russia that he's a man, and he's hunting like their family's always hunted before, and he's hunting after these like super powered beings that are all over the place in New York, and he lands in like Long Island, and he realizes before everybody else that Peter Parker's special. And I wouldn't even make Peter Parker Spider-Man until like do a Daredevil with him and just wait until the very end.
Oh, absolutely. Like have him like kind of get more into his powers later on. Like I love
do the wrestling,
Exactly. I love Peter Parker when he realizes like he can produce these webs, but when he also realizes starts to run out.
You like organic Spider-Man.
I like where he starts out organic, but realizes that his webbing runs out, and then he needs to move on to web cartridges.
Okay.
Like, I like the whole arc of it, where he realizes he can't wholly depend on this because it's unreliable, and he needs to go more to tech, and he gets better and better at things. That's what I want. I want the full growth.
Right, exactly. Yeah, totally. I mean, you could like, oh gosh, I mean, like I wouldn't even kill Uncle Ben until like episode 5.
No, because without Uncle Ben, he's not that cocky kid.
Right, you gotta bring him up.
Honestly, I wouldn't even, I would probably try and put off killing Uncle Ben until season 2.
Wow.
Yeah, because I want to see cocky Spider-Man. I want to see, young, man, I'm this completely new person. I have these new powers. For once, puberty doesn't suck. And just have Uncle Ben be there trying to guide him, and Peter Parker just take it all for granted.
Yeah.
Just have him go try to do the wrestling thing. Have him beat up his bullies. Have him be a total a-hole. And then
once he gets the powers, it kind of alters him psychologically too, to where he's kind of more like a spider.
Exactly.
Almost, in a way.
Then take away Uncle Ben.
Whoa.
Then it hurts so much more, and it kind of stops. For a minute, it makes it hard for people to feel bad for Peter Parker.
He pushes them all away.
Yeah.
It's like in the very first season, you bring them all to him, and then the second season, Uncle Ben dies, and he pushes everyone away.
You could do so much dynamic with such a young character going through so much that you just can't capture in a movie.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I love the original animated series, but I think if they would have made Peter Parker a little younger, it might have been even better. I remember as a kid watching that when it was on TV, and I swear the what was it, the costume crisis, is that what they called it? It was like a 10, 12 part, like they'd never done like parts, man. And I remember like I'd always like, you know, when it would come on, I'd never watch it like at part 1. Like it was always like part 4. You know, and I'd have to wait, and I remember I never caught it. But I remember the very end of the Spider-Man animated series just being wackadoo, man.
Oh, dude.
Wacky.
With Madam Web and everything, and that's another thing. Get Madam Web in there. Like...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You're throwing a whole different... See, Madam Web, though, that was a character that changed Spider-Man in the comic books, you know, because that made everything like...
She would be great if after Uncle Ben dies, though, have Madam Web step in then. Because then you still fill that mentorship role, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the idea that there's been a Spider-Man throughout all of time. Mm-hmm. That was what J. Michael Straczynski brought to the mythos. And I really like that. A lot of people did not like it at all, though.
No, I like that it's this whole concept of the Great Web and the avatar of the spider. And even though Spider-Man's powers are completely science-based, that there is this greater power that kind of influenced, and that at one point there could be... I mean, I think there was like a magical-based Spider-Man, and there are like just different ways that you're chosen, but it's all connected, and I love that idea. Yeah,
it's gonna be, you know, I'm looking forward to the new Spider-Man film. You know, I mean, was his name Tom Holland?
Yeah,
was tremendous in Civil War. I could have just watched Spider-Man, you know, over and over in the film.
Those eyes, man!
Yeah,
like that's.
Dude. Oh.
Have you seen the new poster?
What?
Leaked poster for Homecoming?
No.
Oh, God. It's Spider-Man hanging upside down and just one eye slightly bigger than the other, so it kind of looks like he's winking or just looking at you, and it's so perfect. Like, what they did with the eyes is perfect.
Interesting. I'm trying to find it right now. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, stupid ad. Look at those eyes.
Yeah.
Like, that is so perfect.
I like that. I like the little finger pointing deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
I'm so stoked for it.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
I'll be there opening night.
For sure.
Just like I was with Green Lantern. But I won't regret it, hopefully.
Oh, man, I was so excited. That year, I was like, Green Lantern is going to be so awesome, and X-Men First Class is going to suck.
I was so
And it was like, I was so wrong.
I was so happy Ryan Reynolds was Hal Jordan. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was great, and... I don't blame Hal Jordan for that movie at all. I blame what the hell was Parallax. That's what I blame.
I don't even think it was Martin Campbell. I think it was just crap, man. I mean, just really, really cheap.
It was kind
writing.
of like the first showing that DC tries to cram way too much into their movies. Yeah. Like, that was really the start of it, because they had Hector Hammond, they had Parallax, they had... the Rogue Guardians. They had Sinestro going evil at the end. Like, they had Ryan Reynolds just discovering his powers.
It's not even Parallax, you know? It's like a big piece of, like, wood in space. That's what it looked like.
And, like, what was this Parallax about him being a Guardian at some point? Like, that throws out so much canon you could have used. That throws out everything.
Yeah, they just tried to just blow their load all over the place, and it didn't work. The only redeeming quality of that film was, you know, Yellow Sinestro. And honestly, it's kind of like the Wonder Woman fight with Doomsday at the end of Batman vs. Superman. If some dude would have just posted their, like, you know, demo reel of what they can do with the computer and shit, and said, hey, check out this fight that I made between Wonder Woman and Doomsday, you know, I'd have been like, dude, have you seen that video? It is awesome, you know? And it's just like Green Lantern, like when Sinestro is wearing the yellow at the very end of the movie. It's like, well, that could have just been a video that someone put up on YouTube, you know?
Yeah.
And I would have been like, yeah, that looks pretty cool, you know, but it's not going to serve the story any damn purpose at all, because by the time we saw that, I was like, yeah, we are not getting another one of these. This is bad, man.
There is no
really
hope.
Bad. So, yeah. Dude, honestly, man, 50 action-packed minutes. I mean, if you want to, man, feel free to come back and record again. I think this is gonna do it for episode number 48. Well, you know what? No, it's not. Take just a few more minutes because I want to talk.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about this article that I saw that's on your website right now, and I think that it's written by. It's a really well written article by. What is it?
Karu Nagisa.
Karu Nagisa.
Yeah.
In the article, it's basically what is it? What's up with the black suit or Superman's black suit?
So Henry Cavill just recently tweeted a picture that is a very close up of what looks like part of a black S.
Maybe it looks like a black and white filter on it, though.
It does kind of look like that. A lot of sources have started speculating that it is the black costume, which would perfectly make sense if he's getting ready for Justice League.
Yeah, because Superman died, by the way.
Spoiler alert.
If you guys haven't seen Batman vs. Superman, Superman dies at the end.
Yeah. So there's a ton of sources speculating that this is a black suit Superman. And Karu Nagisa, one of our writers, was awesome enough to go ahead and just break down what the black suit is for anyone who's unaware and kind of what it means that could be coming to Justice League, which I feel like we've all already called at this point.
Right. And
at the end of Batman vs. Superman, we all called this is what's happening.
Yeah, sure. We're going to get the black suit. They'd be dumb not to do it. But my whole thing with the black suit is the black suit isn't just a black costume.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that's what they're going to do. They're just going to use it as a black. The black costume was put on him by his robots in the Eradicator in the fortress as a healing as a healing, like a containment unit.
Because
almost.
It absorbs more solar radiation.
Right.
Just the color black in general, it absorbs a lot more. And the whole point was so that he could heal faster.
Right.
Because Superman's indestructible.
Right. Superman is indestructible. And, you could have just, flown his body up next to the sun and given him, an hour or a good tan and he'd come back. But, it's comic books. And the black costume in the early 90s was awesome, man. When he came back in that costume with the long hair.
Whenever you saw a superhero all of a sudden have a black costume, it was just the coolest thing. Like Spider-Man with his black costume. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it to everybody is at one point or another have that hard edge black costume. You go down the line. Name me a character that has always been bright lights or bright colors, never gone to the black. It's hard for me to think of anybody who has been, just a real bright character. Because, you could say Barry Allen,
He was the Black Flash. Yeah.
Right. So you can't do that with him.
We didn't plan that. We just said that at the same time.
Aquaman 2. Aquaman, he went through a little phase where he had a little black trim in his deal, you know. So it's
I think Green Arrow has always been green, but at some point he was a dark green.
Yeah,
it was...
Yeah.
They go through the muted colors whenever they're dealing with stuff, which that's one of my favorite part about these superhero comics.
Definitely.
Is that their outfit expresses what's going on internally.
Absolutely. So I hope that this black costume isn't just for aesthetics, and it actually has some sort of meaning to it. But yeah, go on to eclipsepopculture.com and check out that article. If you want to know about the black costume, and you've always seen pictures of Superman in a mullet, and never understood, why he's holding guns and wearing a black costume, go onto the website, read into that article, and then fall down that rabbit hole, because the death of Superman, I'm just, I always look up in my wall and think that I have it here, and I don't. I do, but I don't have, I want the omnibus, the full-on Death of Superman into Funeral of a Friend into The Return of Superman. They sell it. And I definitely need to get that. Because, a lot of it gets kind of fluffy after Superman dies, because it's kind of a scramble of, okay, so what are we going to do, But the fact that you have four guys in Metropolis, Superboy, who says that he's Superman, the Eradicator, who we don't know is currently mending Superman, being Superman, who is now back in the comics, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Have you...
Dude.
That's a whole nother discussion. Everything that's going on in Rebirth.
Yeah, Superman... Rebirth is a whole conversation, and also, too...
I'll come back for Rebirth.
Yes, Superman, the Superman books right now, I've been saying here for the past few episodes, are
They're great.
Tremendous, man. They're fantastic, and it's so good, and I'm so happy that the main thing I'm really happy with is the fact that when I first read that he had a son, you know, they were going to do the whole thing with John, I was like, oh no, but oh my gosh, it works so well. And the fact that he and Damien are getting their own book here in like a month or two.
Yeah, September, I think, beginning of September.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Super Sons. It's
yeah,
gonna be good.
And when does Teen Titans is coming up soon too, and that'll also feature Damien. And I'm hoping Superboy to some extent.
I'm just gonna stick with Titans.
Titans, you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll on Titans. I've been reading Nightwing. I've been reading Titans, and that's really the only books outside of and Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps. Outside of the books that my Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman that I read every single month, you know, I've gone out to. They're not on my pull list. I'll pull them directly from the shelves just to see what's going on. But I mean, I love Dick Grayson. Something about Dick Grayson, I've always loved it, you know, and I really like what they're doing with Nightwing and getting out of this whole spiral mess.
Yeah,
I wasn't really a big fan of that.
I'm really gonna just try and dig into Teen Titans because of young Wally West. I love what they're doing with the two Wallies. Yeah. I love all the speedsters.
I love the fact that they kept Wally West.
Yeah,
the New 52.
And they did it well.
Yeah, they did.
There was a total explanation for it. It wasn't just like they were both from separate universes. They were both in the same universe. They just literally never met in a total plausible situation. You know, families fall apart. Yeah. Sometimes they were both named after the same relative. Like it happens. It does.
Yep. And that's, you know, folks, I mean, Rebirth is fantastic right now. There's a lot of good stuff going on there between Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash. All the individual hero books are really good. I'm not really hip on the Justice League as much, you know. I just think the Justice League right now is comprised of a bunch of heroes that don't need a team.
Although I do love Superman in the Justice League books. I love what they've done with him.
I do, but I'm of the mind, and I kind of always have been, that guys like him, guys like Hal Jordan, they got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
You know, they can come in and help out their buddies in the Justice League and be honorary members all they want, but Hal and Superman have, if not, they have probably 2 of the 5 most important jobs as superheroes in the DC universe. Hal's responsible for everything else out there.
Yeah.
And Superman is basically you know, the weapon, you know, is, to put it simply, you know. I mean, he's the one that's going to be the hammer when things need to be taken care of. And it's the Justice League led by like Batman, with a bunch of kind of younger heroes that kind of feed off of each other and each provide their own touch, because the Justice League now, man, you just got a bunch of big bangers, dude. I mean,
yeah.
Superman, Wonder Woman, you know, they just knock the wall down, you know. You only need one.
Even Cyborg, they've really upped Cyborg's game.
Absolutely. I mean, and I almost think that Cyborg could lead the team.
Oh, he absolutely could. Like, I would be wholeheartedly behind having Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's got her own stuff. She's like she's a full-on goddess now. Yeah. And she has her own stuff to deal with, finding her brother in this crazy prophecy. Mm-hmm. Superman is just... Right now, I kind of like what he's doing in Justice League books, where he just flies in last minute when they need the big guns, but they still don't trust him. And Batman, I want him to step down. I want him to continue this search for who the Joker really is. I want him to just be Batman, and I would love to see Cyborg lead the team.
Yeah.
And kind of like
and he's already graduated to the Justice League from being Teen Titans and all that for so long.
Keep Shazam, keep Cyborg. I would say keep the Flash, because
one of them,
as much as I love him, he is a bit lower key than Superman and Batman. But then, keep the new Green Lanterns and let Cyborg kind of make his own team, and that should be what's going on with Justice League.
Yeah.
Retire the Trinity to their own books. Keep Cyborg as the head of Justice League, because it makes sense. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that just puts a cap on this episode. Folks, again, hit up EclipsePopCulture.com for all of the newest and latest pop culture news in regards to film, comic books. What else do you guys cover on there?
We've got film, comic books, TV, video games, music, and also technology stuff. So,
well, there you go. So if you want to be kept in the know, definitely, hit that site up every single morning or afternoon when you're doing your travels around the internet. I have been for the past couple days, and I'm excited to see what you do with it, man. I'm proud of you, man.
Thanks. Means a lot.
Anyway, that puts a cap on episode 48. I'll be back with episode 49 here soon, and we will see you again on the next episode of Matty Loves Podcast.